Okay, hello guys. Welcome back to the series. Sorry. Welcome back to this session over the theory and practice unit test. So the idea is today I will be finish the previous session regarding with the standards and coding. So talking about that, we can see on the previous session something related with the execution for the normal testing, and we missed the most important test that we have to include. Why the most important? Because in this operation we are validating all the failures that we have, but any tests are covering the normal execution for the unexpected good or success behavior. So in this case, I will be copying this for this test, and we'll be adding at the end the same test. We are expecting a good identifier, and in this case is for me is success. So what it is, the idea is adding a capital letter regarding with the rules. Here that's I'm expecting a normal call is an empty result. For this side, I'm expecting this empty result, and the count must be not empty or could be 0. Let me check. And nothing else. Checking for this. So I will be trying to check this case. Okay. I will run it. And I'm expecting this result is not null. Okay. This is an empty because I'm returning nothing inside. Okay. And the count is equal to 0. That's the normal behavior, and this is the expected value that we are missing. This test must be executed also for the rest of the applications. Okay. Regarding with the other thing that's maybe we are missing here is the operation that we have for the other one. So if I can copy this, for example, I will be adding at the end to put it here. And now the only thing that I have to change here is the statement for this operation. Okay, it's the validator. Same thing is for this one. I will be adding this. Remember that the blue color, that blue dot that we have here, this means that this test is not executed yet. So that's the thing that we are doing here. Okay, so at the end for this one also, I will be adding this thing and change the validator. Okay, and for the last one, I come here and I will be have to add last test and I can change the validator also here. Okay, so as expected, this execution for the text, remember that we are getting some errors for the normal execution. Let me compile again. Okay, we have some okay, we have some errors, some warnings here. So maybe that's something related with this. Okay. Okay, here is the different way that we can call it. Okay, for now, let me see if I try to execute the test. Okay, I don't know why it's not seeing the test here. Let me try to close it and try to open it again. See Windows Test Explorer is here. What? You see, why is not loading this? I can see it. Yeah. Where they go? It's a little weird. Why is not look at me? I can try to see where is it. What? Yeah, there it is. I'm not filtering. What the hell? What is? Okay, that's supposed that I have to see here the unit test that I run it, but I couldn't see here. I don't know. You see, one I have 24, 23 pass and one fail. That's supposed that I have to see here. They only failed. I couldn't see here. That's weird. Let me see what something's happened here. That's supposed that I have to see here. What the hell? Let's see. Everything. No. What? something knows what happened here. That's why I couldn't see here the old test. That's what I have to see here, my test. And I know that all the tests is running well because I can see here. I understood that's maybe the only test that's not working. Could be something related with the previous test that I run it. This it is. I can see Internet Explorer. What? I don't know what. Let me try to close and reload it. I don't know. Something's weird. Let's see. I don't know what these things happen. I suppose that I have to see here my tests. Okay. I don't know what happened before. Okay. So here, I know this test is failing because expected one was 3. And what these things happen in this case, for example, I know that's the string and empty. I'm getting just not only one test. Remember, that's what I did here for the first one. And this is one. My tests for this validation. This means that's this kind of validation I'm executing. Remember, this execution, because I'm getting this error, and that is happening, getting this error, and if not, I'm getting different kind of errors here. So maybe this is not the good execution for this kind of validation. I have to review that's the validation could be good or not. Or maybe if I get this execution, I have to change this kind of validation. That's something that I can validate through it when we execute something through the normal behavior. So in this case, for example, I understood that here is this validator is not working fine. That's a result that the test execution that we have. So at the moment, for example, I have to get in this kind and say, okay, if I have some error, the idea is not continue, okay, with the next validations. And if something is not working fine, maybe this kind of validation is not works as expected. So maybe I have to do some changes over this code, for example. In this case, I'm getting an error. What's that this is not okay. See, I'm returning an exception. Okay, so when I do that, I'm catching the exception and I'm adding the error to the list. And maybe I need to execute something like that. For example, if I'm getting an error, return something like that. See, something like this. I don't know. Catch error. Okay, equal false. Okay. And when I get in this, I can see something like this. and I can say catch error equals true, and I can say, okay, if catch error return, for example. Okay, that means that I don't let me see. Okay, return errorless. Return errorless. Something like this. Errorless. Okay. If I'm getting error at the moment, I'm returning the list at the end. You see, here. Like I mentioned before, at the end, okay, at the end, so the idea is if I have an error, I can return. This is not good practice. For example, if you see this is not good to do this kind of things, because I'm forcing to return errors. So the specific validation that's maybe I have to do here is not using that kind of process. So if I come back here, and maybe we'll be running this again. Okay, let me see what happened. Okay, let's pass. And if I run it, all these tests again, yeah, you see, I have another error expected to, but that was 1. You see, that's the thing that's maybe we happen. So in that case, for example, I understood that this is not a good implementation. That's not good way to call it, and this is not good way to execute that kind of things. Okay. Well, I will want to continue with the next. For now, I will be let this errors here, but I want to continue with the next topic for this session. In this session, we're gonna see what means for unit tests and theory and practice. We want to see the mocks. So what is the idea with the mocks? It's a specific object that's allowed to mimic or fake some kind of behavior for some specific classes, and let it interact with the object as was a real object. So the idea with this mock allows that you instance an object at the same behavior for the real object, but you can explicit change that's behavior, or for example, explicit to do some changes over the code. That means that you can add a different kind of results. Depends of the normal behavior that you are expecting. So in this case, for example, the idea with the mock is that we have to use a framework, a library, special library that we call MOQ, and that library allows that you create mock objects, and this kind of object as passes at the other functions as the object instance, and you can add it some behavior. So the specific behavior that you can add or prepare as be set up at the beginning of the process. For example, in this case, we are mocking an interface, say my interface mock dot setup, we are expecting that, for example, when we are executing does something here, this function, we are returning true, or when we executing step get and try to get this property for this object, we are returning a specific value here. That's things happen. That means that's when we are calling internally for the real object is calling, and internally this object is using an instant of this mock. The mock is returning, intercept the call and returning the specific value without call the real object instance. So that's the thing. At the end, so the idea with this is one specific assert that we have to include at the end of this process is using the verify. So the verify means that you are checking that this instruction is called before of the execution. This allows that you can validate that the process was executed or not. And in this case, for example, we are expecting that this instruction was called once, and in this case, we are expecting that was never called in this instruction. Okay, so how we can do this, for example? So maybe in this case, for example, we can to do something like this using the normal execution that we have here. Remember that we are waiting for calling the normal execution here, okay? And we have different kind of methods to execute. So in this case, we are interacting first with a specific validator, okay? So with this kind of specific validator, we are execute some validation here. And if we can see at the coverage that we are missing some specific calls, and in this case, one of those classes that we are missing at the moment was not the validation message, the validation things. Is more related with the validation methods. Okay, so let me see it here for fine cut coverage. You can see it that this is called well here, but here this validate method is not used. You see, because we are calling some specific exceptions that we have here. So, for example, if I try to execute this statement, okay, is the if statement validate. The idea is that when we are calling if statement validator and calling validate, okay, we are expecting that we are returning some specific result. Okay, so how we can do this? If, for example, here, let me try. I will be adding a new test here. In this case is validate methods. So remember what is the instruction to adding here. So the idea is I will become here. And I would say, okay, I will be add new class. Okay, and in this class is using the same name for the unit work item that I'm testing. In this case, is validate method, and I have to add in the suffix test. Okay. And in this case, I will be changed here public. And in the example that I showed you before, I'm using here on a specific class here is test fixture and adding the setup. Okay, so I will be adding here. Remember, this is all of these are annotations. Okay, I'm sorry for this. And I'm here, I'm adding the NUnit framework. Here, I will be using a setup first. Okay, now I want to say public. It's setup. Okay. How these things work. So let me see my previous validation here. I guess that I have it. Okay. Yeah. So for example, in this case, I will be test using this validator. Okay. But I have to include the statement validator here because I have to use the validator method. Okay. But internally, I want to use an statement of this validator. So let me see if I can do this. Okay, so in this case, remember that I have to include my validator. For in this case, is this one. This is the code that I want to add. Okay. And in this case, I want to test. So for example, if I want to execute this validator as an if statement validator, let me see if I can if I can do this. So I want to execute this, say, okay, private, and in this case is if validator validate statement. Okay, and I have to put something like this. But the idea with this is I want to mock. So in this case, I want to add this mock. Okay. For this, I'm sorry. For this, I have to add the MOQ package. Okay. So when I do this, I have to use mock if, let me change something here. Okay. Statement validator, but I am adding, to say this is a mock. Okay. And for this one, so the idea is that I want to set up this validator. If you can see, I'm adding at the beginning, say what is the new statement validator. Okay. So the way that maybe we can do this is, let me see it, validator equal new mock validator at the same way. This one. It's here. Okay. Sorry, here. I deleted new. But it's the mock. Sorry. In this case. Okay. But when I use it, the idea is say validator equal mock statement validator. I'm using the object. Okay. So let me see, something is not working here. Let's sign it. Oh, oops. What? A read-only field cannot be assigned to the set instruction or any other set. Oh, sorry, it's not read only. Okay, so in this case, for example, when I try to do this, if I using this, okay, I have to create a new test. Okay, and say, okay, we are using public, and I will be use the same for is statement validation. Okay, so at the first validation that I have comes here, and let me see it what happened. So the idea is when I calling this validator, okay, I have to set up that something is working different. Okay, so I can say, okay, for mock, if a statement validator dot setup, and for this, say m dot in this case is validate. Validate, okay, and with this color with the identifier, okay, and say okay, returns, and I know this in this case I'm returning something like an error because I'm returning this list, for example. Okay, so in this case I have to prepare before. Okay, expected results. Okay, and I can say it's a new list. Okay, and for this, say okay, I want to put something like this inside, and I say okay, I have to put this inside. Okay, so when I do this, say I'm returning this. Okay, so here, say validator, validate identifier, and okay. So what these things happen? So I'm trying to execute first the setup for the mock statement, okay, and I'm gonna say here something is returning. You know, when these things happen, I'm calling the same object internally, but I'm forcing to return something that I want that's returned as expected. Okay, so let me try to execute this test. I'll put here. Okay, and I will to debug. Let me see what happened. Okay, so what is the idea with this? I'm executing. Okay, I'm preparing. Normal execution. Okay, support expression. What? 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 System support exceptions and support expression. Not overridable members. Your thing validate may not be used in setup. What? Let me see, have something more details here. Okay. That's things maybe happen because let me see it. I want to see if I created. Yeah. No, but that's okay. It's a validate. Okay. I'm calling well. Just only validate. Return the list string. It's weird. Or maybe because it's not this instance. It's not readable by the validate method. No, but it's okay. So I validate. And suppose that I have to do this normal here. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. It's one step only returns that I wanted to return. It's okay. Let me see something. Let me check. Yeah, I'm an admin here. Taking some for the validator. When I come in here, yeah, it's the identifier. M. There's the M. It's for validate. Yeah, that's okay. It's not overridable. Let me try to do something because if class, but is this working fine? I don't know. No, let me try it with a different example. Okay, maybe we can do this with a different example. I will be use different project for. I was preparing a different project here, as maybe it's more normal project that we are expecting. Okay, so in this case, for example, I'm preparing a different test project, and in this case, I'm using another project here, and this project it is for my repo. I'm sorry, for my repository. And you can find here the people API. This project is a specific project that you can validate. Okay, so with this kind of project, you can check what is the normal execution for a clean architecture. Okay, we have this kind of operation. So this project is a simple testing. Okay. I'm here. So the idea with this is that we can add in the testings for this normal operation. So I'm getting this normal API. Okay, when I say, okay, let me try out, and I'm returning some data. Okay, at the moment I'm getting 25 records. Okay, you can execute all the operation is adding, retrieve all, or get all, update or delete some record. That's a normal behavior that you can add here. Okay, so if I want to add, for example, a specific case for testing using a mock here, so the idea is that it will be used and creating a new folder in this case, and I will be adding tests. Okay, and here internally I will be at the unit test. Remember that we are working over only on the unit test. So here unit test. The first test that we have to use is for this one. Remember? So I have to add new project, and the project must be a project using an unit test project. Okay, with C#. Here I will be at this. So in my case, for example, I will be changed here and adding here at the same, let's say test, and internally I will be at a new folder, unit test. Okay, and internal for this one I will be create the people API unit test. Remember that was the same process that we are doing here, the same name of the project, adding unit test at the end. Okay, that's the operation that we are doing here. So okay, I will be adding here app.unit test. Now I will be creating the test for this project. Let me see, what is this version? I don't remember. Let me check. I don't remember exactly what is this framework that I'm using here. Okay, let me check. Let me check for this one. Let's see. This is version. Okay, this 5. Okay, perfect. I can use the 5. Okay, no problem. So I want to here and creating. Okay, so in this case, the idea is I have to add one test for each of those operations. So in my case, for example, I will add in for the controllers. So I only have one controller here. So I have to add in here new one folder. Remember, try to keep the same structure. So I have to say controllers. Okay, will be deleted this one. Here I will be at people controller test as the name of the class that I have to add here. Okay, people controller test. Okay, So here I will be adding chains here as public first. Okay, adding the test fixture as the default. Okay, so adding here. And the next thing is, if I'm testing this, okay, so the idea is my test use the controller. Okay, so I have to create one instance of this. Okay, it's a normal controller. And the idea with this is I'm injecting one service. You see, this is the service that I'm injecting, and I'm getting the all validation inside. Okay, so with this, I have to create one of those for people controller, and I will be inject this as a new one, person service, but I want to mock this operation for this thing. Okay, so in this case, let me change here. I will be create first private. So in this case is people controller. Okay, but this is the people controller instance. Okay, I'm adding the people API. And for this that I said is people controller. Okay, but remember our standards is I using test as the name. Okay, and the other thing that I want to add here is the setup. Here I say okay, public void setup. Okay, and the other thing that I want to add here is private, and in this case is a mock. Okay, let me add package MOQ, and for this case I want to add this person service. Okay, I'm putting here a mock person service. Okay, just let me add the other reference here. Okay, perfect. So in this case, what I have to do, the first thing is to do this. Okay, that's the mock service, and then for the test, people controller equal new equal object. I'm here. Take a look over this. I'm setting the new instance for people controller using the object. Okay, you can see this is creating the new mock, but internally here I'm using the object for this one. Okay, so what happens if I want to test? So for this thing, I want to test the first of them. For example, the get all. Okay, this is the more simple thing. Okay, so I want to say the normal. Okay, it's a public void. Okay, get all. Adding success, for example. That's the normal behavior that I'm expecting. Okay, so remember, I add in arrange, egg, and starts. Okay, so what is the arrange here? The first thing that I have to is I'm expecting something here. Okay, so in this case is get all. Okay, but this is an async task. Okay, and I'm returning an action result. Okay, so in this case, I will be add. If I use the async, so I have to add in here also as the task. Sync task. Okay. And for this, okay, I'm waiting for this. I can say, okay, bar result equals, in my case, is test controller get all. Okay. So the thing that I'm expecting here, you can see, is an action result. Okay. And for this action result that I'm expecting to return here is something similar like this. This is an object. Okay. And for this object, I'm returning a normal get all message here. This is a get all async and return an enumerable person. Okay. So in this case, I have to return, for example, just only once object. Okay. And it's enumerable. So you can say, okay, perfect. So I come here and I want to say, okay, I need to return a list of person. Okay. No. Sorry. Person. Okay, let me add. And I say, okay, expected person over persons. Persons expected equals new person. I'm here, I can say, okay, you want to say new person, and inside I have to add just only one record. Okay, and the ID equals 1, first name equals John, last name equals Doe, date of birth equals new daytime, and I will be at, let me see, I don't remember exactly what is this. Okay, year, Monday. Okay, perfect. 94, 10, 8. And then sex equals, is this string or character? Okay, character. This male. Okay, perfect. So one thing that I have to expect it here is, okay, for this I have to return. I'm doing this. Here is an await. Okay. And the other thing that I have to do here is set up. Okay, for the mock personal service, mock person service dot setup. Okay, I'm just calling m dot get out async. Okay, then returns async. Okay. Return async, and I want to return a person expected. Okay. So when I call in this, I'm sorry, missing the semicolon here. Okay. So let me check here. What I'm expecting here for the assert, first of all, okay, say assert first is not null. Okay, the result. And then I want to say here something like okay, let me see what I'm returning here. Next result as and think that I can work here as an object result. Let me see it. Okay. So for this thing, I can add an assert dot is not null also result dot okay, and that's better than I have to. It's are equal, or I can add that is equals to, so in this case, int http status code dot, let me add, in this case I'm expecting an okay. Okay, here Bart response equals result dot value as list person. Okay, and I'll say assert is not null response, and assert is not empty. It's not empty. It's not empty response. And also I'm expecting one record, for example. Let's say, okay, assert that response dot suppose dot count is equal to 1. Okay, so let me try to run it until here, and let me see if everything is working fine. Okay, we wanted to put a breakpoint here, and I want to put another breakpoint here. And we will run. Okay. Oops. Nope. Check what I'm doing. Run. Okay, here. I think that I'm missing another one. Okay. It's here. This with this. Okay. I get that. I was adding more than once. Okay, perfect. Again, we run it. Okay, I'm adding here. Okay, it's taking evaluations. Okay. There's an internal error for this thing. Okay. Now let me check. Okay, so in this case, when I call him here, I'm calling the getting of service sync. Okay. So what I'm doing here is an object result. Okay. Here I have one value. The status code is 200. That means that was okay. And the value I have 1. Okay. It's entity person. And everything's fine. And I'm expecting this. I'm returning. It's not null. It's not empty. That was okay. Okay. That's something that's if you are mocking some expected values, you can see, because if I don't execute this using a mock, the thing that I have to do here is create a new service, okay? And the idea is execute all the process. But in this case, I can change the specific response using mock service. And after that, I have to add the last thing here. Could be very simple to adding another validation. I have to use mock person service dot verify. Okay. So what I'm expecting that's verified here, I'm expecting that the dot will get by async, for example, get all async, okay, was called only once, okay, because I'm expecting that this function was calling only once, okay. So when these things happen, I'm expecting that was calling just only for the ones calling here, okay. So when I run it, when I run in the test, here, and I'm getting here. So the idea with the call is return the all values, okay, and verify that the process was executed. For example, what happens if I say that this operation must be called also a different thing? For example, I can say, okay, was calling this and call get, for example, here get by ID async, and internally I don't say, okay, it's any. Here I say it's any integer. Okay. Here I'm not sure what. I know that here I'm getting an ID, okay, but I'm not sure what's what was the parameter that these things calling. So if, for example, I'm expecting that this instruction was calling here when I am executing, okay, when I'm executing here, and I call it, say, okay, that was okay, but for this, I'm expecting that was calling once. Say, you have an error, because here you was expected that the invocation for this once, but was 0 times. You see? That's the thing that happens. So you can mock any other calling here, okay? So you are expecting that you can call these things here, okay? And the idea with this is that you can verify if one operation was executed or not, or some specific operation was called many times, once time, or not what executed. Okay, so that's the way. In this case, for example, that's not needed. So for let it specific operation, I can use these things here. Okay. Question until here, guys? Do you understand how this mock works? Okay, I guess that's okay.
I have a question, actually.
Yes, tell me.
Please scroll down a little bit.
Yep.
Okay, there you go. So in the line 30, you say that the name of the method is getAllSuccess. Okay. So in the assert, in the line 49, we are trying is not empty. And so what you're saying here is that we're gonna have a true because the response is not empty or it's not null, correct?
That means here.
Yep.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a true there because if the answer is not null, it's not empty. Is that right? Is that correct?
You mean that's why we need this if I have this?
I mean, this is going to have a true value if the response is not empty. Line 49. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing is that if you can see, I'm returning here. I understood that my calling for this is an action result. Okay, so I'm using this casting to change the result for this. Okay, if something happens weird, I'm expecting that maybe could be not null. Sorry, if everything working fine, I'm expecting that is not null for the result. Okay, but maybe for example, what happened if I have returning here null, and I'm forcing something like this. If I return something like this, okay, that's not behavior, normal behavior. That's happens here. So when I'm validating this, I say, oh, you have an error. Okay. It's most that you has to conditional your calls, because you can, if you are using mock, you can change totally the behavior for all. Okay, so in this case, I'm validating only the structure. Remember the session for tomorrow. So the idea is see what happens, not only with the structure, because here I'm expecting that was okay, status code that was okay. And for example, what happened if I call in with this, but the expected result was not John, was I don't know, Mark or something. You see that I have to validate not only the structure, I have to validate also the data internally. Okay, I know that means that could be happen, and in this case, that's not regular behavior, but that could be happen if you executing, for example, a transformation service. You are expecting that transformation service is getting some different kind of errors. Okay, so in that case, you can add in different expected results values, and you have to validate that the expected results are the same result that you are executed through the service. Okay, for the moment we are only validating the structure. Say is not null nor empty, the quantity of records that we are returning are corresponding to the expected record that we are expecting. Okay, but the more deep in analysis that we have to do is not only validate the structure, we need to validate also the content for that record. Okay, well, that's all for today, guys. So the idea is that you have to understand a little bit more how these things works. So the idea is mocking is a powerful tool that's allowed that you can add in different kind of or behaviors, and the idea with this is that you can add more testings and try to figure out how you can add in different of tests and a regular process. Yep, that's all that I have to share for today, guys. Another thing.
Okay.
I have a last one.
Julio, could you upload this example to Git, please?
Yeah, this is the same example that I shared before. Remember, I have two records. The first is the first record that we are the first repository that we are using was WorkShop.net. If you can find here in my repository, is this one, WorkShop.net. Okay, and the other repository that I'm working, I will continue with this tomorrow also, is People API. You can create your own branch over this, and we can try to figure out more things. Anyway, I will be uploading these testings things in my repository, and you can take a look over that later, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, guys, that's all for today. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Julio. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.